Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. The sky above the Imperial City was obscured by the huge blue lotus. The cultivators outside the divine capital looked at the Imperial City's 10-terminal formation in confusion. What happened? A blue lotus? Who cultivates a blue lotus? The cultivators looked at the sky above the Imperial City in shock. It seemed like anything was possible in the great and vast world. It was only natural that they would be shocked by things they had not seen before, however, they accepted it very quickly as well. After all, since ancient times, there were countless predecessors who created many new cultivation methods. The ancestors of the Confucian, Buddhist, and Taoist sects created the Taoist seals, the Buddhist seals, and various script and talisman seals based on various theories. The fiend Zen created the black seals as well. Since the evil Sky Pavilion's master was the first nine-leaf cultivator in the world and the person who kicked the door to the nine-leaf stage open, it was not strange if he had developed some new cultivation method. The cultivators could only accept this fearfully and respectfully. When the blue lotus bloomed, the glass-like 8 gates formation seal that appeared above the Imperial City instantly shattered. It gradually faded away like golden stars in the sky. Just like that, Zhou easily destroyed the 8 gates formation seal. There was no doubting this fact. Zhou descended slowly, casual and composed. At this moment, realization dawned on the Nether Sect members, Huachongyang and the branch members. This was undoubtedly the reason their sect master would scurry away whenever he encountered his master. How could he not run away when his master was so powerful? Indeed, their sect master was very smart to know when to run. The sun was setting at this moment. Zhou could sense that he did not have much extraordinary power left. Whiz! The curtain-like barrier in the sky changed colors. A strong gust of wind began to blow in the air, and the clouds dispersed. The 10-terminal formation is disappearing again. Everyone, get ready. The evil Sky Pavilion disciples stepped forward. Primal chi surged wildly into the city again at this moment, and the air was no longer so stifling that it was difficult to breathe. Everyone's cultivation bases were slowly being restored. They inhaled deeply and wasted no time in circulating their primal chis. Similarly, Zhou could feel his cultivation base returning to him as well. Although he had almost exhausted his extraordinary power, he was now a 5-leaf nascent divinity tribulation realm elite. In terms of combat experience, skill, and insights, he was a cut above the rest. I'm still peerless. Bam. 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 At this moment, several white-robed cultivators were sent flying out of the Dajing Palace. At the same time, black-robed cultivators appeared in the direction of the Eternal Palace. They grabbed 2 white-robed cultivators as they flew in the air before tossing them to the ground. The white-robed cultivators dropped to the ground with a loud boom. It did not take long before the 10 elders from the Big Dipper Academy were captured and tossed in front of Zhou. Their faces were ashen. Then, the black-robed cultivators descended to the ground one after another. There were more than 10 of them. At this moment, Li Yunzhao emerged from Dajing Palace and greeted Zhou respectfully. Greetings, Senior Ji. Zhou looked at Li Yunzhao and pointed at the individuals who captured the 10 elders before he asked, "Are they your people?" Li Yunzhao said, "I feel embarrassed. One must have some sort of way to protect oneself deep in the palace, after all. Is this the Empress Dowager's directive?" The Empress Dowager has long discovered that this person was an imposter. Unfortunately, the imposter has full control over the divine capital. The Empress Dowager prioritized the bigger picture and did not expose him. The others nodded upon hearing this. No wonder the Empress Dowager was so bold as to visit the evil Sky Pavilion previously. She even went as far as to give the longevity pill she had kept for many years to the evil Sky Pavilion. Naturally, she did not know Zhou had no need for the longevity pill. It was clear now that she had wanted to seize the opportunity to establish a friendly relation with the evil Sky Pavilion. Apart from that, they understood now why the Empress Dowager had defended Zhou Yu so strongly back in the obedient villa. At that time, she had vehemently opposed switching the second prince, Lu Huan, with the fourth prince, Lu Bing. They understood now why Lu Gu had remained indifferent toward the prince's death and the Empress Dowager's illness, completely focused on opposing the evil Sky Pavilion and unifying the 10,000 tribes. At this moment, Li Yunzhao said in a clear voice. The Empress Dowager has ordered the Imperial Guards to stand down. No one is to resist the evil Sky Pavilion. Since his cultivation base had been restored, his voice was loud and energetic, resounding through the Imperial City. The remaining soldiers and officials sprawled on the ground. At this moment, the evil Sky Pavilion's cloud-splitting chariot slowly lowered its altitude in the sky above the Imperial City. One of the female cultivators stood near the helm and said, "Mr. First." Si Wuya frowned and said, "I'll go and have a look." He pushed away from the ground lightly and flew up into the sky. After Si Wuya boarded the flying chariot and entered the cockpit, he saw Yu Zhenghai lying inside. There were bloodstains on Yu Zhenghai's neck. Although he had prepared himself for this, he still trembled. Eldest senior brother? Si Wuya tried to wake Yu Zhenghai up. Alas, Yu Zhenghai remained unresponsive, his eyes remained close. Yu Zhenghai's life aura was weak as well. Then, Si Wuya carried Yu Zhenghai and leaped out of the flying chariot. The evil Sky Pavilion disciples cried out when they saw Yu Zhenghai. Eldest senior brother. Meanwhile, the 10,000 Nether Sect members fell to their knees in unison. Sect Master. Their invincible Sect Master had been grievously injured. How could they not be worried? Hua Chongyang and the 12 branch masters walked up to Yu Zhenghai. Si Wuya's expression was grim as he approached Lu Zhou. Master, eldest senior brother is. Lu Zhou raised a hand to stop Si Wuya from speaking any further. It was difficult to tell if Yu Zhenghai could survive this. Nothing was absolute. He looked at the unconscious Yu Zhenghai. He extended his hand toward Yu Zhenghai and did not hesitate to channel all of his extraordinary power out. This was all he could do, he would leave the rest to fate. Master. The grim expression on Lu Zhou's face did not escape Si Wuya's notice. Lu Zhou said, "You've saved him once. I'm sure you know about the Wuqi tribe's characteristics of the Wuqi tribe." Yes. Yu Zhenghai would lose 300 years of his life every time he dies. Even if he survives this injury, he still can't escape his great limit. Conk looked at Yu Zhenghai contemplatively. Perhaps, she remembered his words to her during their first meeting. She walked up to him and softly said, "Hang in there." The others lowered their heads. Lu Zhou looked at Conk and remembered the 9-leaf stage and runes. Then, he said, "Si Wuya." "Yes, master." "Where did you find your second senior brother's runes?" Si Wuya was overjoyed. He knew what his master's question meant. He replied at once, "I found it in an ancient grave. The runes can absorb life." "That's right. Master, I'll take eldest senior brother to Liang province immediately." Lu Zhou glanced at Yu Zhenghai before he said with a sigh, "The runes can prolong his life, but if they're going to split it between them, they can't go about killing people." Si Wuya said, "So long as we can guarantee eldest senior brother's life for 49 days, there's hope." In truth, there are records in the ancient books about the death of the Wookieans. In fact, there's no proof that 3 deaths are the limit. They only came up with 3 deaths based on humans' great limits. Nevertheless, even if there's no way to overcome the great limit, even if eldest senior brother can only live for another 10 years, I have to save him. Lu Zhou felt something stir in him and asked, "Are you confident?" I wish to bring eldest senior brother to Lulan. Eldest senior brother has said that the location of his first death was an ideal spot, which aligns with favorable time, geographical, and chronological conditions. I can't make any guarantees, but I'm willing to try. At this moment, Hua Chongyang bowed. "I'm willing to go with you, Mr. Seventh." The 12 branch masters said in unison, "We're willing to follow the sect master to our deaths." Then, the evil Sky Pavilion disciples raised their hands one after another. "I think I should be the one to escort eldest senior brother. I want to go as well." Lu Zhou looked at everyone. Although the Nether Sect had conquered the divine capital, there were still many dangers lurking within the palace walls. They knew that the road to Lulan would not be smooth sailing. After pondering on it for a moment, Zhou said, "Old Seventh, take the flying chariot to Liang province and look for your second senior brother. It would be much safer if they had Yu Shangrong's help." Yi Tianxin said, "Master, why don't I go accompany 7th junior brother to Liang province? I've traveled the entire Great Yen previously. I've been to the western regions and passed by Lulan. If we travel by flying chariot, we'd be too big of a target. We'll certainly attract the attention of the other tribes. That's very dangerous." Yi Tianxin had a point. With her accompanying Si Wuya, the journey would be much smoother. However, Si Wuya said, "6th senior sister, although you're an 8-leaf cultivator, you're not completely healed yet. You should stay here and help Master oversee things in the divine capital. Moreover, I have my sources in Lulan." Sources? Si Wuya glanced at Zhenghai before he said, "Master, time waits for no man. I'll take my leave now. Go." Zhou waved his arm. Si Wuya pushed away from the ground and flew toward the flying chariot. The cloud-splitting chariot dragged a long tail behind it as it moved toward Liang province. In just a moment, it disappeared among the clouds. The cultivators outside the divine capital were shocked and baffled when they saw this. Perhaps, their courage was boosted by the disappearance of the 10-terminal formation. They moved closer to the divine capital to have a look. There were no imperial guards, no curtain-like barrier in the sky, and no ballistae. The divine capital was in ruin. Dilapidated houses, corpses were strewn everywhere on the ground, and fly-infested pools of blood summarized the post-war divine capital. Upon seeing this, the cultivators sighed deeply. Rebirth would follow a war. Then, the cultivators in the air looked in the direction of the imperial city. In the end, who's the final victor? Nobody knew the answer, and nobody dared to enter the imperial city of their own accord. They merely flew around inside the divine capital. Inside Dajing Palace in the imperial city, Li Yunzhao supported the Empress Dowager to slowly sit down. The person seated opposite the Empress Dowager was the Evil Sky Pavilion's master, the greatest 9-leaf expert in the world. The palace was filled with people kneeling on the ground. The court officials and the elders of the 2 academies were bound and forced to their knees. When the Empress Dowager looked up, she saw Zhao Yu standing behind Zhou. "Zhao Yu, you came." Zhao Yu lowered her head. "I don't blame you." The Empress Dowager could not blame Zhao Yu, nor did she have any reason to blame Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu did not grow up in the palace. She had also fulfilled her responsibility when she took care of the Empress Dowager while she was ill. In fact, it was a wonder that she did not hold a grudge against the palace. The Empress Dowager knew that she was in the wrong. How could she blame Zhao Yu? Then, she shifted her gaze to Zhou. After studying him for a moment, she said emotionally, "It's been a while." Zhou did not bother with small talks and directly dove into the heart of the conversation. "There are tens of thousands of Nether Sect members outside Dajing Palace. They're the subordinates of my disciple, Yu Zhenghai. I know. I won't comment on Lu Gu. Ever since Lu Gu ascended the throne, he did not govern the country. He killed the fair folks, dumped their corpses into the river, and fished their bones from the river for a decade. The prince colluded with grand shamans from the other tribes and brought harm to the 9 provinces. The imperial family has ended up in this situation today. Because we brought it upon ourselves," the Empress Dowager said with a sigh. A resigned expression could be seen on her face. She turned to look at the court officials and said, "It's meaningless to talk about these things now. The change in governance is a part of the natural cycle. If the people of the 9 provinces can live peacefully, I won't have any complaints even if the ruler's surname is Ji." Upon hearing this, the court officials prostrated themselves and cried out, "Empress Dowager." Their cries were brimming with despair. If there were a change in rulers, they would all become slaves from a subjugated nation. Zhou shook his head. He was different from Yu Zhenghai, he was not interested in world domination. If his first disciple, Yu Zhenghai, truly wanted to sit on the throne, he would have to go through many obstacles as well. After all, Zhenghai did not have the surname Liu. Among the 5 princes, only the 3rd prince, Zhou, and the 5th prince were left. It did not matter to Zhou to whom the court officials wanted to push onto the throne. Nevertheless, Zhenghai had gone through many troubles to conquer the empire. If Zhou made a decision on his first disciple's behalf, would his disciple not feel disappointed? Therefore, he was not in a hurry to make a decision. Instead, Zhou looked at the elders from the Big Dipper Academy and the Sky Conduct Academy and the court officials. How should we deal with these people? The evil Sky Pavilion can do whatever they want with them. The Empress Dowager no longer regarded this as an important matter. Since I'm asking you, it means I respect your decision. When Zhou spoke, the elders from the 2 academies who were on death row kowtowed immediately. The Empress Dowager was taken aback. The divine capital had fallen. What more was there to be said? She looked at the elders who were kowtowing at her. The soft thuds of the foreheads hitting the floor irritated her slightly. Drag them out. Behead them. Since ancient times, monarchs had always been heartless. Upon hearing the Empress Dowager's order, the elders' faces turned ashen. Have mercy, Empress Dowager. Mercy. The imperial guards charged in. These elders' cultivation bases had been sealed before they were bound. They were powerless to resist the imperial guards and were dragged out of the palace. Zhou looked at the elders. What a waste. Should I be merciless and kill them myself? Although the remaining elders had weak cultivation bases, they were still worth something. I'm letting my mind wander again. Zhou shook off the extraneous thoughts before he asked, when did you find out that he's not Lu Gu? The Empress Dowager looked up and said, how could I not know my son? The day that impostor ascended the throne, I knew. Lu Gu was still around at that time. With his abilities, he should have been able to take that man down, Zhou said. Indeed, Lu Gu had thought about it. Alas, the fake Lu Gu was already an 8-leaf cultivator at that time. He also had a super heaven-grade weapon, the magistrate brush, the Empress Dowager said. Zhou flipped his hand, and a red-tipped brush appeared in his hand. This is a super heaven-grade weapon as well? The Empress Dowager was not surprised the brush was with Zhou now. She nodded. That's right. Perhaps, this was the reason the imperial family had firm control over the empire. Lu Gu had High Void, and Lu Gu had the magistrate brush. Moreover, they gathered the elites under the heavens inside the divine capital. The armor, the red veins, the red-tip brush. Zhou asked, where did the imperial family get all these items? The Empress Dowager turned to Li Yunzhai and said, send the others out. Li Yunzhao understood the Empress Dowager's intention. He turned to the court officials and said, the Empress Dowager is tired. You're all dismissed for the day. Understood. The court officials looked perplexed. The divine capital had been conquered. What were they supposed to do next? Should they flee? Should they stay? They did not know what to do. Nevertheless, since the Empress Dowager had given her command, they had no choice but to obey and respectfully took their leave. When the court officials were gone, the Empress Dowager rose to her feet and said, follow me. Where are we going? Li Yunzhao said in a hushed voice, the inner warehouse. Little Yuan was shocked. She asked, is this the inner warehouse that the shameless fellow mentioned? Zhu Honggong chimed in, are there treasures inside? We've won. By convention, I should be able to loot the place. The others looked at Zhu Honggong. He must be really used to being the leader of the bandit. He's out of his mind. Upon seeing the peculiarity of everyone's gaze, Zhu Honggong scratched his head and asked, is it something I said? The others ignored him and followed Zhou and the Empress Dowager. Zhu Honggong, who was still confused, asked, 10th junior sister, did I say something wrong? Conk replied, no. Then, why are they looking at me strangely? Are they jealous of my intelligence? Zhu Honggong was about to scratch his head again when he realized he had been wearing his boxing gloves all along. He immediately lowered his hand. Indeed, I'm much smarter than before. Where's everyone? Third senior brother? Fifth senior sister? Sixth senior sister? Where did everyone go? The vast Dajing palace was now deserted. After the battle at the divine capital, many palace girls and eunuchs fled the palace. The path seemed lonesome and desolate. A moment later, the group arrived near the warehouse of the imperial family. They made several turns before they saw an old brown door that was 30 feet tall and 10 feet wide. The Empress Dowager stopped in her tracks and looked up. She said, "This is the imperial family's warehouse. It's located deep in the palace, that's why it's called the inner warehouse." Lu Zhou found the brown door familiar. He said, "I think I've been here before." Li Yunxiao smiled and said, "You were on good terms with the former emperor, Senior Ji. It's no surprise that you've been here. However, the inner warehouse isn't completely safe. Half a year ago, we lost the sword dragon song. It hasn't been recovered since." Lu Zhou acted as though he did not hear Li Yunxiao's words. "This has nothing to do with me." At this moment, the Empress Dowager took a key out and opened the door to the inner warehouse. Lu Zhou did not press her about the key. He followed behind her in a casual manner. Everything Emperor Yongshou obtained in the past was placed in the inner warehouse.